Um, Hello, everybody. Finally, I'm here. Amsterdam, the best place to give a talk. So, yeah, the title of the talk is Lights Off, the Darkness of the Smart Meters. At the beginning, it was a talk only to speak about how to modify or how to play with hardware, how to do all the dumping of the firmware, reversing the firmware, connecting to all the devices, all the microchips, the microprocessors and everything. But we needed, of course, like a sample, a piece of hardware to play with, to do something with them. So we randomly chose, completely randomly, these smart meters. We are from Spain. That's why our accent is so hot for the American girls. And can you raise the volume, please? Or maybe this one is... No. Okay. Anyway, so as you can imagine, in Spain we are installing some smart meters, and maybe the smart meter we are speaking about is from Spain, or maybe it's not. So let's start with the presentation, like in all the talks. This is the boring part. He's Javier. He's my partner. We have been doing some other research about car hacking. Actually, those devices that you can see over there in that picture are devices that we extracted from the cars, and we started playing with them. And he's a hardware guy. He's like kind of different than me. I'm more in the software like everybody, but he's one of these geeks guys who works with hardware, and it's always with the dirty hands and with toys around. And he's from the south of Spain, Cádiz. If you have not been in Cádiz, in the south of Spain, you should go. Definitely. There's like super good food and super funny people. And that's me. I'm the one on the left. I'm not the only one. That's my grandpa. But yeah, I'm Alberto. I work in software, in the software part. I do red teaming, do pen testing for a big company in the Bay Area. And it's really fun. Doing red teaming actually is really, really fun. That's more or less the introduction about us. And we are really, really excited to be here, to be in Black Hat, to be in Amsterdam. And I'm going to explain you why. Why is that we are so excited to be here? First of all, is that we feel like home. We are from Spain, and we were here like some hundreds of years ago. So we feel like coming back again to the place where we started, like with our wars and everything, being like what Spanish was once upon a time. So I think that everybody knows this painting from Velázquez, Las Lanzas, anyway. And that's not, something happened. Yep. Okay. Another thing that why we like being here is because they have the best coffee ever. I know about Colombia, but nah, actually it's not the best in Colombia or like South America. You can see this kind of coffee shops. They sell coffee. They're awesome. They're really, really cool. So that's the other reason why we are so excited to be here. And the other reason, the last reason why we are so excited is because, you know, the World Cup, I know, don't say anything about Spain in the World Cup this year, or last year. No, this year actually, shit. But we saw in the World Cup, we saw watching soccer, that the best fans are here too, definitely. So that's why we are so excited, and we appreciate so much Black Hat to give us the opportunity to be here speaking in front of all of you. Thank you. So let's start with the main topic of the talk. So what are we speaking about? What is the target of this research? So the target, it's hardware. As I said at the beginning, it's hardware. We want to show how important is like do proper security in hardware devices. It's not everything about websites and defacements and all these things that are in the news every day. People is forgetting about all these hardware devices. Now maybe with the SCADA systems, things are getting better, but people is really not paying attention to the security of those hardware devices. That's why we wanted to do something. So actually failing to do this kind of security it's not only going to give you some problems with manipulation of data or stealing data. Maybe there's something else that you can do if you modify these hardware devices. And the thing that it was like very scary for Javier and for me is that these devices are mandatory, like successfully being installed in your homes. That's it. You can say, no, I don't want this device. And that was something that was pretty scary for us. Like, oh, you're handling all the electricity from my place, from my home, with this device, and there is no option to say no. I still want a guy to come to my place and take notice of, take note with how much electricity did I spend. That was kind of ugly for us. So we started looking in these devices, and actually, I don't know why. The quality is not good. Anyway, it says we took this thing from a datasheet, right? It was a datasheet from a microprocessor or something, microcontroller, sorry. And it says there are dishonest and possibly illegal methods used to breach blah, 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 code protection. Dishonest? Really? So it's saying, oh, if somebody takes a look to these devices, if somebody wants to know how these devices work, that people is dishonest. And I saw Javier, I'm completely dishonest, but I saw him. Yeah, okay. So the thing that we said, no, I don't believe in this bullshit, so let's take a look at it. So first, the first thing we did is like, okay, how these devices are connected one to each other. How is the communication between the devices and the company who is retrieving the information from the span of our, how much electricity did we spend? So we saw that there are like two microprocessors. One who is like a microcontroller, one who is like taking care of the power line communication, the PLC. There is one guy who is taking care of the PLC communication. So he receives data and he sends that data to the other guy who is an ARM microcontroller. And you can access remotely using PLC. That's the way how PLC works. Or you can use an optical port that these devices have on the front. We have a couple of devices here and all the tools we used. We'll show them to you. We're gonna be in Arsenal later, so you can just approach us and take a look and do whatever you want with them. And those devices can be used as an entry point to the network. You have one of these devices, you are in the network. Oh, nice, perfect. And the thing is that any meter, that's very important, any meter can be hooked up into any node. So the things how these things work is like, there's like a bunch of meters, and all these meters are connected to a node. And that node is connected to the centrals, to the command and control, where the guys are like billing you. Okay? So it's the registration is automatic. You just plug the device, it works. That was interesting for us too, how these devices are being like have been registered in the network. You can act as a relay. That's super funny. We will speak about it later. And meters can receive remote commands. That's something super interesting for us. That's what we wanted to check. If that commands are being like checked, the integrity and everything, you know. Actually, this is how it works. There are some meters that you have in your home. Those meters are connected to a node, and that node is connected by GSM or Wi-Fi or whatever to the headquarters or the command and control, as I call it. And they use a management interface, and they play cards and everything, and they build you. That's more or less how these devices work. And something about the relay that I said before, like this, any meter can be hooked up. No, shit. They can act as relay stations for up to 8 levels. That's what happened. So it's not necessary that the node is directly connected to your device. There must be other device in the middle of your smart meter and the node, because they will act as a relay. They will broadcast whatever you want for you. Hey, I'm not seeing the node. Can give this packet to the node? Yeah, of course I will. So that's how these things are connected to each other. And security. Yeah, that's the fun part. The communications are secured by AES. That's it. It's AES. Let's move. That's it. If if AES is there, everything is secure. Everybody knows. It's encrypted. AES is used by the governments, and it's super secure. So, perfect. Nailed it. No, that's not everything. Okay. Do you want to change?
Yeah, I want to talk too, man. So yeah, basically, as Alberto was saying, the communications are secured just by AES 128, which means the payload and its contents, every command, everything, it just has this layer of encryption, nothing else. Otherwise, it's plain. The optical port itself is secured just by a simple challenge, which we will see how difficult it is to retrieve. There is, due to low stuff, there is some specific frequency, not so a specific modulation, but the frequency that is only used for electric companies. So it should not be so straightforward to be able to sniff data or to interact at all with it. And yeah, there's some tamper stuff. We will show a close-up later, or maybe we will see it on the PCB. The device has a battery for the main controller, and there's a switch in the PCB which is actually checking when you have opened the bottom cover, which is the one that has the wires. So once you open that, an alarm is set, and you will see in the display an indicator saying that you hadn't tampered it. So basically it looks nice, but if you don't secure your hardware, so yeah, tamper detection. We can see on the left. Let's try to zoom it in. Yeah, here is like the bottom where the arrow points is just like no, it's a switch, a pressure switch. So it's actually normally pushed. Once you take the cover out, it will go out, so it will be released. And then you will get this nice triangle, which can only be removed by service, blah, blah. And there's even further alarms against manipulation and stuff. Basically, when you want to do some hot wiring, whatever, so the meter is detecting that the current is going backwards, or there's a short, or there's some alteration, we'll say, it will get into a state that is called alarm. And it will be, well, yeah, it should be impossible to recover from that unless you have the service tools, whatever. And yeah, this is really important. So this is a PCB with super nice quality. Okay, so I'll try to focus the yellow spot. If you can see it, like in the middle of the screen, is actually the PLC modem, which is handling also the encryption and all the communications with the external world, both PLC and the infrared port is routed to there. To its left, the blue dot is the PLC flash, which holds the firmware for the flash. PLC has no internal memory, so if you want to load code or anything, it should be stored in external memory. Cool.
Do you see something weird with that? So we are saying that PLC is the one who takes care of the encryption, okay? Everything that you receive arrives to the PLC, that's the yellow one, and it doesn't have an internal memory. And it's the one who takes care of the encryption. So where's the key? Okay.
The key went for a coffee. It will be back. So, and let's zoom again in. So, whoa, down there with the red dot is the main microcontroller. It's an STM32F, basically an ARM7 core. So pretty standard. Yeah, and the bottom right corner with a white-ish spot. How do you paint here, man? Yeah, hello. Can you like mark the shit?
Yeah, this guy.
Okay. Yeah, like in the somehow circle, that's the EPROM, where there are two things, well, actually three things stored in there. The first one is like partial firmware updates, so some code is run off the external EPROM. Cool. We store there the reports also for the power consumption stuff, blah, blah, and some configuration that is taken into account during boot. And to the left of the fancy circle, there's like a square rectangle connector. 1 second.
Yeah, this guy over here. I'm going to try to do it better. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, so that guy is the debug connector, which is like perfectly hidden. No one would guess. And so that's an overview. I mean, when it comes to security, that's like the most important, those are the most important components. So yeah, microcontroller, as we were talking, it's, I said Core 7, okay, and then 3, yeah, I don't even know stuff. So it's an STM32F101, it has 255 kilobytes of flash, they only use like half of it, so okay, cool. It runs on 3.3 and it has like several stuff as we've seen on the PCB. And yeah, even though there was a debug connector, when you try to use JTAG, it seems not to work. I mean, there's something wrong with it. Maybe my device, maybe something. But yay, SWD is enabled. So bingo.
Yeah, SWD, normally people know about JTAG, and it's the most like common debugging connection protocol used to debug this kind of hardware. But SWD, I didn't know about it before I started doing these things, to be honest. But we saw that it was enabled, and you can do everything. You can do the same that with JTAG, but you only need 2 wires. So it's like, oh, great. So thank you very much for that. So here, as you can see, actually, you need 2 wires, but you need VCC2 and you need ground at the end. So, and reset. Yeah, reset 2. So at the end, it's like 5 wires. You need 5 wires to be connected to this, the ports that are like enabled there to do debugging, and that's it. So it's super easy.
Yeah, actually, can you go back? Yeah.
Yep.
1 second. The battery we were talking about before that detects the tamper even when the thing is offline is the white roundish stuff there. So yeah, it's easy to spot as well.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, there is no JTAG. JTAG is disabled. Everything's like, oh, awesome. These guys did an awesome job. No, SWD is there. Perfect. So thank you very much. I don't need to connect like 4 wires. Now it's only 2. Awesome. So.
Okay, I'll keep on with this.
Yep.
So yeah, the PLC, as we were talking earlier, the PLC.
Just one moment, like, just to clarify, the main things are there are 2 microcontrollers. One of them is the PLC that acts like a router, like a modem. Just get the information, decrypt it, and send it to the MCU. That's like the things that you have to have very clear. 2 microcontrollers, PLC who gets the information and acts as a modem, and the MCU that is the ARM microcontroller, that is the one that has the code itself, the firmware that is useful. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, so, yeah, the 7581, actually, if you try to Google for it, it doesn't exist officially. It's an ASIC, so custom made, and yeah, so special and different, we will see. And it's based on 8051 processor architecture, whose assembly is like really awesome. I like it a lot. Yeah, sarcasm. And it has a built-in AES 128 engine, which is the one used for crypto, so it's hardware accelerated. Yeah, as we were saying earlier, it has no internal programmable memory, so it loads, we called it custom somehow, firmware from an external flash. It's actually an SPI flash. And somewhat it's starting at offset 1000 for some reason. Then it's using the UART for the optical port. It has some level shifter to prevent isolation and stuff like that. And between the microcontroller, the MCU, the ARM, and the PLC, the communication is handled by I2C. It uses like some two inputs, yes, for the UART baud rate, so it's hardware configured and it runs on a lot of voltages, which is a lot of fun. So here the overview picture, yeah, it's pretty clear. So this is just a zoom from the previous shot. The yellow is the PLC, and the flash is right next to it. So yeah, it's actually pretty hard to get the code. It took us like 2 months to be able to solder the flash. Yeah. So yeah, again, we saw there was, wow, super zoom. We saw there was like a flash, an external SPI flash. We look at the pinout. This is the official datasheet stuff. Yeah, I see the XRX on the top left. So UART is there. Okay, sure, for the optical port. But where's the SPI? I mean, yeah, a lot of reserved. It's like the wine. It's all reserved and stuff. And not connected, sure, but no SPI. So yeah, it's a custom ASIC. It's especially made for them. Yeah.
We will see that is not true.
Yeah. So
yeah, like you know all the components now. We saw you all the components: the flash, the EEPROM, the microcontrollers, everything. So let's dump everything. Let's check what's inside all those components. Now we know that the PLC is connected with the MCU, that the PLC have a flash memory, that there is an EEPROM memory over there, that we don't know yet who is using that memory from the EEPROM. So let's dump everything. Let's dump the MCU. We can do it. We have the SWD to do it, the protocol we spoke about before. Perfect. Let's use it. EEPROM, you just have to dump it. You don't need anything special. And the flash is the same. Okay? The PLC flash. That's the other thing that Javi was saying. Like, okay, there is a flash who is used by the PLC, but there is no connection between them according to the pinout. Well, what's that? Okay? And the rest, like, yeah, the PLC, the important thing here, the PLC is like the modem. It's like a modem, it's the gateway to access to the rest of the components. And that means if the PLC, it's only acting as a router, as a modem, as a like taking the information, decrypting it, taking the packets, decrypting it, and sending it to the MCU, who is the one who have all the firmware, all the important things? The MCU. Fuck the PLC. I mean, I don't give a shit about it. So PLC is just handling encryption.
So badass.
Sorry for my French. So PLC is just handling the encryption. It's encryption, encrypting, and decrypting. That's it. Super dumb microcontroller. So, and the key is the same for all the units. That's very important. Does somebody know who AES is? Symmetric, asymmetric? Yeah, you all know. Symmetric encryption. So they are using symmetric encryption, and this key is the same in all the meters. Can somebody join the dots? That's bad. AES, yeah, super secure. Top secret documents of the CIA are stored using AES, of course. But the secret key, I mean, nobody have the secret key. Only Bush or the president of whatever, no. So anybody here can have the key. That's the thing. All the customers, all the persons in whatever country these smart meters are installed, they have the key to encrypt and decrypt all the communications. Everything. So yes, what's the point of having AES? Nothing. And another thing we are still researching about is optical port. Because if you do something weird, you can call to the company saying, hey, my smart meter is not working. Can you send somebody to fix it and to figure it out what is going on here? And a technician come to your house and connect optical port, optical receiver and sender to your device, and they do something. We are still researching on that because the optical port is very, very expensive. How much was it?
Well, actually, besides being expensive, I mean, the debugger for it, the AT51 JTAG. But as I said earlier, we really love AT51 assembler. So.
But how much was the?
I don't remember, but I think
$400
yeah.
or something like that. I mean, you have to know these devices. You can buy those devices for 300 euros each. If you want to create a network, you at least need two. If not, that's not a network or anything. And we burn a lot of those devices because, yeah, they are
Magic
super bad
happens.
isolated. So we are actually researching about this optical port communication, but we are connecting directly into the MCU, and we are sending packets through using I2C, because the MCU and the PLC are connecting using IC2. I2C, sorry. So we are connecting directly and sending the same packets that the actual PLC will receive. So at the end, we are doing this kind of trick to avoid paying like the $400 it cost, the optical port cost. So that means that the big price in the MCU, that's super clear. And okay, let's dump it. How can we dump the firmware on of the MCU? Okay, let's use like the common programs that you can use and you can search, you can find in internet, ST-Link in this case, and let's do it. Okay, I want to debug the code. That's what everybody wants to do, because just doing the
Dumping the firmware.
yeah, dumping the firmware, it's super easy. It's like 2 clicks at the end. Once you know, of course, how you need to do it. And after that, you can use IDA and GDB, and you can debug the code. You can go through the code. It's an ARM, and it's kind of easy. And flash contents are not checked for integrity or manipulation. And the problem with these devices, I was saying that before, is that they are not isolated. And
Yeah.
if you forget about
Yeah,
isolation,
if you are like so happy you want to debug the stuff and you say like, yeah, what's isolation? Then let's zoom it. Yeah, that's actually on the top of the ARM. That's not a shadow. I mean, that's what's left of those pins. Okay. And yeah, this made someone really happy. And the logic analyzer also, yeah, that's not coffee. I mean, that's something else. So yeah, obviously the meter and some equipment got destroyed. We wanted to keep up with the research. So by then we didn't have more smart meters around. So what we decided was to make our own system. I mean, we had the dumps, and it should not be so complex to make it. So what we did, we got from some really well-known cheap selling place this development board for STM, and we swapped the microcontroller for the one that is actually being used in the meter, and we uploaded the firmware to it. So we hooked up the LCD also. I mean, we have this device here. We will be showing it later at Arsenal. We uploaded the code, so yeah, it was actually working. So we had a base system there. We could keep on debugging the code. And yeah, here it got like more funny with more wires. It was still not as crazy as it got, but it's something. And we were emulating using Arduino, specifically the PLC modem, because we were having some trouble with it. And I don't know the name for the IC, the one that is really making the metering, the measurements in the electricity. So basically SPI and I2C emulation done here on the system. And that's the board with a screen and everything. Yeah, on the right there's a level shifter with a lot of resistors. Yeah, and another thing that was funny, at the beginning, I mean, it was like 1 hour or two, but it really made me mad for 1 hour or two. When I was first looking at this, I noticed that the thing kept getting reset after I launched I got attached to the device. So I was like, what's going on? So yeah, basically it was the watchdog. So we had to shut it down. And yeah.
okay. So the problem here is we had prepared the demos in my laptop, and I don't have a HDMI to VGA. But anyway, we're gonna do both demos. We're gonna do it in the Arsenal. It's just after the talk or after the break, I think.
Yeah, it's
We're going to be
happens
doing
too.
like both demos. One of them is disabling the watchdog, dumping the firmware, attaching to with IDA to the back disk the code, and disabling the watchdog. That's the first demo that we are going to do, and we are super happy to show you after a while in Arsenal.
Yeah, my laptop was not ready for the demo, sadly. And yeah, the super zoom again, we can imagine there's something there. I mean, like, basically, what we wanted to show here is once you get the dump, pretty straightforward. You get some ASCII strings, which are somewhat interesting. So, I mean, it's not that difficult. And yeah, so a little bit about, this is just some reversing. I mean, it's basic stuff, but we thought it would be good to show it. So basically...
Not basic for me, at least.
So basically, this is part of the datasheet. We say we have already our code dumped and we loaded it on IDA. And we know, because we trace down the pins, that the communication between the microcontroller and the PLC is being done by I2C. In this case, by I2C2, which is the second port for I2C. I2C1 is reserved for the EEPROM. So we want to check what's going on. We go to the datasheet and we check for the offsets. Those are memory offsets, and we can check it's like 4000-5800. So remember that number. Then I'll actually go one ahead. Okay, I'll show this, yeah, sure. Then we saw that there was a range. It was not just a single value. Then within that range, you can, I see, imagine also, or trust us on this. Like there's a few bytes, and each byte is a register. Basically, depending on the offset that is added, like we said, the base address was 4000-5800. If it would be like 5008-10, actually 10, then it would be the I2C data register, which we should be able to see here. So where the data that is incoming or outgoing is stored in this case. So yeah. We saw that on the datasheet. Now let's see how we use it.
Yeah, it's very, very important to use the datasheet. Everything is there. You don't need to be like fighting against the code and debugging the same thing every time until you realize where the actual packets that are being forwarded from the PLC are coming from. Just go to the datasheet. You know that both devices are connecting using that protocol. Let's check exactly what memory address, what memory range the code is using to access to that packet, and that's it. So yeah, it's very, very, very important using the datasheet. Reading the datasheet one time and another time and another time. And at the end, everything makes sense.
So yeah, in this case, we're going to show, we already know what it does. We call it PLC handler. So if we see here in the square box, well, not square, but rectangular, it's loading the offset from the I2C into R9, which is a register. Basically, it's loading the offset for it, which means it might be using it later.
Yeah, that's the address that we saw before in the dataset.
Then remember that the offset was stored in R9. We see it's moving C0, which in this case we already told you is the address for the I2C peripheral, which is the PLC. So it's moving the address for it into R1. It's copying R9, which is the address for the I2C peripheral, to R0, and then it's branching to another sub, which we already know is I2C right. And yeah, then you can see, well, you can imagine that to the right, the orange one is 10, which we could see in the datasheet. That was the data register. So basically incoming, outgoing, and it's storing offset 10 of R0, which was the I2C blah, 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 into R1, which is the offset for the peripheral. So basically this is like send C0, like all the stuff for that. So that's an example just on how do you check, encode, or find where the communication is happening or where something is happening. If we want, for example, to check like how is the light being turned off, then obviously what would be the first step? Let's see how the data is being handled by the PLC. then we know that the relay is connected to a pin, to a transistor, to whatever, which we can look in the datasheet for the offset. Then we will see like what other stuff inside there would go to that pin, and then we can know what data is expected. Just to close this down.
So, yeah, to clarify more the things, for me, that I'm a software guy, not a hardware guy, this is like the typical breakpoint that you place in receive or send in the APIs. Receive or send, you need to, when you're debugging some, or you're reversing some binary, that's the typical thing that you need to set. That those two breakpoints to know exactly where is the data that I'm receiving and where is the data that I'm sending. Okay, so here is the same. It's more complicated because you need to go to the data sheet to know exactly what memory address is using, blah, 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 blah. But it's actually very similar to placing the breakpoints in those two APIs, the common APIs that everybody knows.
Yeah, so at this time we will be able to do this demo. So let me check. Yeah, we should change this. So
he's telling me to tell you a joke, but I'm super bad telling jokes, so I'm gonna pass. So yeah, here we have two smart mirrors. One of them was prepared to do the first demo, and the other one was prepared to do the second one. Can you just active? Yeah, yeah, perfect. Yeah, you can show them like a little bit. House.
Yeah, I can see there. Thanks. So basically, this is the meter we're going to use in the demo. Don't kick the camera. I know you don't like it, but so yeah. I mean, we have here externally soldered EPROM. Like here's the external, the EPROM itself soldered. It's for ease of use. We will see now how. And these wires, other ones, are just for the debugger. So yeah. So let's see if we don't burn anything or anyone. Let's practice here. Yeah, and now don't touch it. So boom. And let's see, can we move the camera? Okay. 1 second. Okay, so we can see, as we can see, it is an alarm state, as we were saying. We can turn it off. It will turn off.
Takes a while.
Yeah, you turn it on. Alarm. I mean, like, man, nothing to be done here. Like, yeah, you played with this. So. Yeah, we're going to do something on this laptop.
Yeah, he just removed the EPROM memory, and he's connecting the EPROM memory to this programmer to dump all the code in the EPROM. Yeah, whatever. Do you need me to handle this? So now this device, it's completely locked. It's blocked. You can't do anything with it because it knows that you have been playing with it. It's like some kind of security that they implement, so you can't keep playing with the device until you unlock it. Actually, according to the manufacturer, you can only unlock this device if you call the support service or something.
Yeah, we are the support service.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Nobody see anything. Okay. There was nothing important there.
So we saw the thing was in our arm. So I guess we would expect we need to do a lot of stuff to calculate something. It's the EPROM, it's gonna be secure, should not be easy to modify. Yeah, I like zeros.
Yeah, let's place a couple of zeros there.
Yeah, we all love zeros.
It will work, I think. Just zeros.
Okay, and let's program.
We just modify that place in the EEPROM and just fill it with zeros randomly.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, zeros, really? There should be a checksum, yeah. Yoo-hoo. So,
That's what everybody thinks. If you modify something in some address in the EEPROM, there must be some checksum, some CRC, something to check if whatever thing was modified or not. So now,
okay, so second, let's see, like, boom. Not yet. Yeah, oh, don't show that. And now, yeah, no, show it. Closer. So, no, eso da igual, eso al consumo. Yeah, he's so scared.
okay, the thing is, it's working again.
I mean, like, if you can see it, second. Yeah. There's no longer an alarm with zeros.
Yeah, so we can still play with it. We don't need to spend another 300 euros to buy another one. That's like my grandma. I remember the first time I bought my grandma a phone, a cell phone, and she said, "Hey, son, you need to buy me another one. The battery ran off." I ran out of battery. It's like, no, you can charge it. So it is like something similar here. At the beginning, we were thinking about buying another one, but then we said, okay,
I mean,
let's take a look.
If you get the point, basically changing the ID is very difficult.
Understand that.
Yeah, he wants to see my folders, my private stuff.
No, I really don't. Okay, dale por ahí.
Okay, so yeah, the EEPROM, which is basically what we were doing right now. It's an I2C EEPROM, as we were saying. It can be read, obviously, with the standard tools. I mean, it's an EEPROM. It holds like non-critical information, like AES keys, MAC, configuration, status, ARM. I mean, yeah, all the things that no one would like to see. Even the firmware updates. And yeah, there's some critical blocks, which are not like the key and stuff. There's some sort of digest, which is also very difficult to reverse. Yeah, zooming in. I mean, like, if you check the block, on the small square, there's the digest. It's for every 128 bytes, which took a while to count. But, yeah, but basically that's it. I mean, not too difficult to reverse. Yeah. And then the PLC external flash, we talked about it earlier, so that should be fast. I mean, just the SPI flash, it holds the PLC modem firmware. And yeah, the PCB. So yeah, we will show it later close up, and anyway, you should have seen it already. Like when we were showing the PCB, there's no BGA, which anyway, contrary to, well, okay, yeah, I should explain what's BGA just in case. So BGA means ball grid array. We are used to ICs that have pins. BGA does not have pins as themselves. They just have like on the bottom an array of balls. So unless you desolder, you are not able to trace the pins. And obviously, you are not able to attach to the pins unless you use some specialized hardware. So it's not straight away like using pins. So there are no BGA components on board, which means everything is like pinny and cool and so fast to attach to it. And the PCB itself has 2 layers, which means that you can use this trick. Let's see. Can you put the camera for a second, please? I don't know if you can see that you can trace the roots on the PCB easily, I mean with light, so that helps.
You can't see it in the camera, but yeah, you can see it like in live if you want to check it later.
So basically it's easy to trace the PCB also. I mean, like so far, nothing has been too difficult. And yeah, as we were saying earlier, there's an external flash on the PLC modem. But we saw there was no SPI interface. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to show it again all around, but yeah, we saw it. I mean, that's the pinout. But if you look a little bit more on the internet, you just don't see SPI. I mean, it's to the right where it says M25, which stands for the model of the flash. But you see like the dark pinouts, you see like some MISO up there, so yeah, SPI, I2C, I mean like, yeah, now it makes more sense. So it's not so special, not such an ASIC.
So yeah, and now that we know how everything works more or less, let's take another look in the dataset, because who doesn't like sniffers? You can enable a sniffer mode. Yeah, by writing any code and just reading all the packets that you're receiving. No, just enable the sniffer mode and that's it. Awesome. Thank you very much.
That was actually, what this means is like I can use a power meter to sniff the data in the network. I mean, I can use the hardware itself. It's ready. I just need to send a flag, a configuration byte to the PLC, and it becomes a sniffer. So not really any major changes or magic, just a byte.
Actually, I don't know why they will need this.
It's fun, man.
Yeah, I know. And there's another thing that you can read in the dataset, the key. This is like super secure, you know. Like keys, of course, is a common, and of course, as it's common in security, you're free to retrieve the AES key anytime.
I mean, like, just in case you lose it, you should be able to retrieve it.
Yeah.
You know, for safety.
So, and that's the key who is in all the devices, and it's symmetric encryption. So, I don't know about this. So, yeah, if we don't know, if we don't use this way to recover the key, we still can, as we did, just attach the logical analyzer between the EEPROM and the MCU, and that's it. We will see where is the key.
Yeah, actually, one way is like Alberto is saying, since the key is stored in the EEPROM and it's just read straightforward. The other way, which attends to this data that we are seeing, is a log of the communication between the PLC and the microcontroller on the startup, where all the setup parameters have been sent. So obviously, since we have a lot of storage in the PLC, internal memory, I mean 0, you need to get everything there. So yeah, startup is like the best moment to get hold of all the data.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of easy, actually. Just start it and wait for the MCU to send the AES key to the PLC to encrypt and decrypt all the data. That's the first thing it needs to do, because if not, it doesn't have the key. So another thing you can retrieve is the MAC, the identifier of the device. So that's another interesting thing, because now you can change. You can, after that, you can search for those bytes in the EEPROM dump, and you can modify that. So now you are somewhere else, someone else. So that's interesting, being another one in the network.
Yeah, and actually, we didn't mention it, but I just remember, you can change all the data in the EEPROM from the optical ports, which means like, basically you can like just approach a meter and from the outside and change the data on the EEPROM, the ID and all that stuff.
So what happened here? AES key can be extracted. You can do it. So PLC, the one who is handling the communications, can be hooked to a different custom external host or a firmware update. What will happen if we force some kind of firmware update? We have the key, we have AES. That's the way that it's checking that the packet is a correct packet or not. We can do it. So like turning on the sniffer mode and just see what kind of traffic we are receiving. Just check what payloads are being received. Categorize all the payloads. Know what commands we can use or not. Another thing to do it is Fascinate. We did some fuzzing, but anyway, this is easier. Why fuzz a device if you can just be listening to it, listening the payloads that the device accepts. So yeah, as Javier said, it's not a custom ASIC at all. It's just the normal one. They said it's custom because it's more fancy, but it's not. And yeah, what happens if you want to, because these devices are made, so the command and control, the electricity, the vendor, the manufacturer, the electricity company can send you a command to say, hey, you didn't pay the bill. I'm going to turn your lights off. That's how it works. That's why they are implanting these devices, because they don't need any longer any guy to go there and physically turn off your electricity administration. So now they can do it remotely. So one of the commands must be turn off this specific smart meter. Don't give him more like electricity. So what happens if we know which is that payload to turn off a device? We can turn off any device. We have the AES key. And that key is exactly the same in all the devices. We thought that this key was different for each
node.
What?
For each node.
Yeah, for each node. For each, like all the devices are connected to a node, so we thought, okay, maybe this key is different for each node, for each like bunch of smart meters, but no. So we can do these kind of things. We can do, so we thought, okay, what can a smart meter do? Reply to consumption stats request. So the node will say, hey, give me how much did you spend this month? And you will say, hey, this is what I spent. This is how much electricity I used. Okay, that's what a smart meter can do. Remote enable or disable power supply. That's a function of the smart meter. Be used as a gateway into the network. You are already into the network once you just plug in into the power line. That's it. You can update his own firmware. That's very scary. Updating the firmware. You can do that. And you have a unique ID in the network. Those things are like the normal things that a smart meter can do. So what can we do? We can reply with fake consumption stats. I don't want to pay my bills. So, okay, I just spent like 2 cents during this month of electricity. That's it. Yeah. We can heavily enable or disable the power supply. I don't like my neighbor. He's an asshole. So it's fun, right? I didn't do it. But you can do it. You can enable or disable, because at the end it's the same commands that a normal smart meter can do. You can get access into a network. You are already in the network once you have a smart meter. You can force a fancy custom firmware update. Custom. Custom is the other one. Okay, so you know what I mean. And of course you can spoof another meter ID, and now you can be another one. So that's another interesting thing. And of course you can do whatever you want. So at the end, maybe these kind of things can happen. So that's why you really need to take care of the security of like these hardware devices, because at the end, there's not only information, there's not only databases, there's not only passwords what can be stolen, like in the normal software life. Here's something else. And that's it. Thank you everybody for being here today, listening to us. To our family and friends, they're always there where we need them. And thank you to all those who wants to understand how and why things works. Thank you very much, and you have to speak now.
Yeah, now I have to speak. Yoo-hoo! So basically, just a little add-on to what Alberto was saying. Like, let's imagine the AES key was really secured. It was not like sent and stuff. Still, we are in control of the AES encryption hardware, because we will be sending, we got the plain data, and plain data is being sent to the PLC modem. We don't even need to know the key. We can just like get one hardware unit and just take out the microcontroller, the ARM, or put custom firmware on it and make it make the PLC with the encryption do the job for us. You don't need the key. So it's not just that the key is sent and stored and safely, but just how the security is handled. That's one point. Another point regarding the firmware update, like if we can trigger firmware updates, which is not difficult, we can create a worm that will shut down the electricity and send the update to others. So we can create like a long-term blackout. Not difficult. That would be like the most scary attack, to say it somehow. And that's possible. So that's just all I wanted to add. So as Alberto was saying, like thank all of you for being here today, to our family and our friends, and to everyone who likes to understand why and how things work. So thank you very much.
Thank you.